Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine, it's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Blame Me. I am Megan Rinks, and I am joined by my co-host, the fantastic, amazing, beautiful, and talented Melissa DeMonts.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Don't Blame Me for a second time.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to O'Leary. God, I need to remember how to do the exact tune of it.
I thought you were going to do like the birthday song that they sing at like Chili's.
Happy birthday.
That's the tune you were doing.
I do. No, you're right. Maybe I think I'm just mixing them up. Wow. We're an advice podcast. You can call in, leave us voicemails at 310-694-0976. International listeners, send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. We give fantastic, amazing, wonderful advice. We're professional bitches, but in like the endearing way that French shoots you straight. What we lack hey bitch, you're being a bitch. Like, we're not afraid to tell you if you're being a dumb bitch, and everyone needs a friend like that. And I look back on my personal life, I'm like, someone should have told me what a bitch I was being. It's helpful sometimes. And we're also here to hype you up, validate your feelings, and what we lack in credentials, we make up for in opinions.
Opinions.
And we ask that when you call in and leave a voicemail that you are over 18 or have your parents' permission. You let us know your pronouns and the pronouns of the people involved in the story, or your call or your advice or whatever. You give as much detail as possible. And what else should they do to get on your gold star list?
You got to write it down and practice, because if it is just going on and on with no actual details, then how can we give you actual advice? It's not going to be the advice you need.
Mm-hmm. The more details, the better advice we can give. And as we say, if you feel so inclined to include your astrological signs, you better have included so much detail, so much that's just the fun fact at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not necessarily a descriptor at all.
No.
I think people got confused because we're very into astrology. I like guessing people's astrology.
Megan.
They got confused and thought I was very into astrology. I just like guessing people's astrological signs. And I'm also just a Leo, so I love talking about myself. So.
Also, you were on like a co-star kick for a while too.
Yeah, they're like problematic though.
They are. And also mine was just making me angry every day. So I deleted it because it had nothing to do with who I am as a person.
No, it didn't at all. Now I use one, there's like a patterns one. But I will say, I did kind of enjoy the lightness of co-star. Also, I think some co-star coders were Leos, because they were always, the kind of shit that I got was nowhere near the kind of like saltiness that you got. But Sydney was like, I was like, I'm sorry, why are you harming my poor baby cancer best friend? Like, you are like, she is too soft for these things. Why are you saying this? This is so cruel. But yeah, I have been using one that's called like the pattern that I just recently downloaded.
What's his name? The little dancer dude from Magic Mike, main character.
Channing Tatum?
Yes, that's the one he loves.
I just love how much you just put him down by calling him that little dancer dude.
He is little and he dances.
He's not that little.
He's short.
He's at least my height. He's not shorter than me.
Okay, for a man, that's short.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how tall. I mean, I won't lie. I don't ever think of like, when I think of like he doesn't strike. I mean, I've never in my life think of actors as tall people. Yeah. Very rarely. You can tell if someone's tall. Like you can, because they're towering above other people. I've met him, Channing Tatum. We have a selfie together.
That's cute.
It is cute. Everybody was like way too nervous to ask him. I was like, I'll fucking ask him. And I was like, can I have a picture? And he was like, yeah. I was like, good times were had by all. That was also the same day that I met Michael B. Jordan. And I was you should have, like, everybody's like, oh my God, you're so chill. And I was like, yeah, because Channing Tatum's not my type. And then everyone saw me with Michael B. Jordan, they're like, oh my God. I was like, hey. He's like, thank you so much. Gives me a hug. And I'm like, he gets it. He has to get it a lot.
He has to.
Because he literally like knew what I was trying to say.
You know, whatever.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it.
I'm over him.
I know, me too. It's good though.
Yeah.
Now we don't have any tension in our relationship about that.
We should get to the update.
We should. Let's listen to an update. This is an update.
We gotta do it at the same time.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
It was season 7, episode 10, and I have very loud upstairs neighbors. Maybe they can hear me right now.
Hopefully.
Waiting. Who knows? So you guys said that I should write a note, and I really like that. And the thing is, we have a Facebook group, like the building. So I actually went and found them on Facebook.
Oh.
So I could write to them, which is, I mean, then the identity is just out there because Facebook is still not private. But before I even got to that, it knocked on my door. And I was like, what the fuck? We're in a pandemic. No one knocks on my door. And you need to like, to get into the building, you have to live here or like visit someone.
Yeah.
And so I know that it's someone from my building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know anyone. And like, ooh. I'm very not confrontational and anxious. So I was just like so nervous about it. But I peep out my little hole and I can see that it's just like this very young woman with a mask. And I think, okay, it's fine. I open the door. I grab my mask and I open the door. And it's my upstairs neighbor. And she says, hey, I live upstairs and you're just playing very loud music. And
our mouths, just for people listening, our mouths have dropped.
And that was, I think I could tell from her like facial expression that she was very confused with my reaction because I was like, what the fuck? And I was just like, oh, sorry. I'm working from home and I work with music. So like I listen to a lot of music. It's a part of my job to listen to a lot of music. And she's like, yeah, no, it's fine. It's just, I have exams and I can just hear your music all the time. And I really apologize, but I will be listening to music. But can you maybe give me like your, like dates and times for your exams? And I'll just make sure that I don't play in that like time span. And she's like, yeah, that would be great. And she gives that to me. And I mean, she was nice. I was just very surprised because like I was about to do that. So it was unfair.
Bitch, you stole my fucking thunder.
Exactly. And just because I was so surprised and I'm not very confrontational, I didn't say anything back. I wasn't now we're at the subject. Yeah. But can I just say? So I was just like, oh, I'm sorry, and closed the door and like went our ways. But then a few days later, I think around 9 p.m. I can hear music and stuff from up there, and I can hear that there's several people, and I'm like, oh, okay, our like curfew is 10 p.m. So I'm like, I'll just wait it out. Like maybe they will turn it off at 10. They don't. It's so loud, and it's getting louder and louder, and it's like you can hear the people get more and more drunk. Oh, they have a full-on party.
Oh my! And you're not supposed to be. No,
exactly. And I'm like, wait, you came to my door with like mask and everything. I thought you were being responsible, but apparently she wasn't. So they have a party, and I think the last people they leave at like 4 a.m, and I haven't slept, and I'm already very anxious when I sleep. And like my boyfriend got me like a weighted blanket, and that's really been helping me a lot. But it's just I didn't sleep at all this night because they were being so loud. But then I saw this like as an opportunity to write her. So I write her saying, this, I'm sorry to tell you, but I've just had an awful night because you've had a party. And I think that's very, I said, I can't control what you do, but just in terms of like neighbors, it's very inconsiderate and rude. I think, please don't do that. And please respect the curfew and etc. And then I continued into, actually, in general, I think you're being very loud. And then I send it and she texts me, she writes me back on Facebook saying that her boyfriend was having a few friends over for drinks. And I was like, oh, but it was like a solid 15
It's irrelevant.
People.
And it was
it's irrelevant because
you're
my
loud.
heart was shaking. Like the walls, I felt like were falling onto me.
Yeah. And it was for 6 hours.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane. Who even parties for that long anymore? And she's saying, of course, I'm very sorry. I will talk to him about this and it won't happen again, etc. And then she comments on my, in general, loud thingy. And she says that I think it's just the building. And I mean, I work out every other day. Maybe that's what you hear. And I'm like, no, you don't work out at like 11 p.m., do you? Like, do you really? And I don't think you like scream while you work out. So I don't like, that's just a bad excuse. And she keeps saying like, oh, but I can hear our upstairs neighbor as well when they do whatever they do. And then I just had to throw back at her, listen, I live on a different floor. So I know that it's not the building. But I just said, but thank you for your message and thank you for having me in your thoughts. Because she did write, I will think about this.
Yeah.
And what could I say? I was just like, okay, that's fine. But I just had to comment on the building thing because I know that's not it. Yeah. Then, because it continues.
Oof.
I think, so there was a thing on Thursday, but before Thursday, there was another thing. And I had already gone to bed. And I decided after the first party that I commented on, I was like, the next time they have a party, I can actually just call the police. Like they are like, it's not allowed. Like I'm in Copenhagen. You can't have more than 5 people in your household and all that stuff. You can get like a fine. And the police, have nothing to do these days. So they will come out to private parties and they will just shut it down and give you a fine.
I just want to just point out this is Copenhagen police and not America police.
Oh, yeah. American police also have nothing to do. And so then they decide to kill people. Yes. Which is, we wish it could be a little bit more like the countries who are ranked higher on the happiness scale.
Yes, we're number 1,
I know.
I know.
Yeah, so I mean, they're chill. The police is chill, but still, that would be like, I thought I should do that the next time. Why didn't I do that? But then I've gone to bed. It's like I think it's like 2 weeks ago or whatever, and I hear like screams from like I think women, and I like run out of my bed because I'm like, is someone? I look out my window to the street and like to our big yard, and I think someone is like getting hurt. But then in my living room, I can just hear like the very loud music and like it was like woo girls,
Oh,
yeah.
I hate woo girls. As someone who's been a woo girl, like there has to be some self-realization to be like, this is awful. Like, woo!
And I just, maybe they're younger. I don't know. Like I'm 27. So like it's not that I don't have fun, but I think they must be younger because
that's you woo in your late teens, early 20s. Like if you're still a woo girl by the time that you're 23, you are a girl who goes to drag. You're like a straight girl who goes to drag shows and is a woo girl, and that's never the girl you want to be.
Not a good
no, and she is not a girl I want to be, but they're so loud. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to text her first. Before I call the police, I will message her. And I messaged her, hey, you're being so loud. And I can't sleep. You've woken me up once again. And she texted me back saying, we'll turn down the music. She was like, we're just 3 girls having fun. And I'm like, it sounds like someone is getting killed. Yeah.
And I don't care if you're having fun. I'm not having fun.
I have to sleep. So she says that she will turn down the music. And and they will try to be, and she says like, because of course you should be able to sleep. Then they do turn down the music and they are quiet, and I fall asleep and it's all good. And then on Thursday, this is the most recent moment. And I think around like 7 or whatever, it starts to be very loud. Like someone is like throwing around furniture loud. And I'm getting anxious. Like I get very like just on my tippy toes kind of. And so I decide to text her saying, hey, this is what I've been talking about. What's happening right now is when you're being loud. And it's just really annoying. And maybe you can think about what you're doing right now and keep it down. And she texts me back saying that they are changing like the cushions on their couch or whatever.
Cushions don't make noises.
No, but I guess they must be throwing the sofa around or whatever. I don't know. And she continues into like commenting on how it's the building and it's just that she can hear her upstairs neighbor and blah, blah, blah. And I give up at this point and I just text her back saying, okay, that's fine. But just in the future, I will text you every time. Like I will, if you're just open to the fact that I will text you and then you will be quiet, then let's just leave it at that. And when I play music and it's too loud, you can text me and it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, thank you. That makes me so happy that you're saying this, blah, blah, blah. And that's the end of it.
That's because she doesn't want you to call the cops on her if she has another party, which you should.
The next party I will. And also, I have told the building, there's like a board,
a
board member thingy. And I have told them, but it's like, it's so hard to throw people out. Because we do like how this work is like, I think you would call it co-op kind of situation. So we do like own the apartment, but someone owns the building. Situation. So it's very hard to throw people out. It's like they need like 3 written notices and a police. It's a whole thing. But yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much. Keep us updated because I want to know how this ends. Hopefully they leave.
Thank you so much for giving us an update.
Thanks for having me.
Super stance. Well, that was the update.
Cool.
We hate neighbors.
Be respectful of people you share walls and floors with.
Yeah.
And ceilings.
Be the upstairs neighbor or the downstairs neighbor. Be the neighbor you wish to see in the world. It is not hard to be considerate and think about those kinds of things.
Yeah. Even when I lived upstairs in my same complex I'm in now, I would be super careful. But then I realized that directly below me was just the laundry room. So I didn't need a reason to be. But I was cautious for like 6 months.
Yeah. And like my neighbors are so loud and the worst. But like that doesn't give me free reign to be that back to them. Like I'm still not going to like vacuum at like 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. or like do jumping jack, like work out at like 10 at night or work out really early either. So struggle. It's a struggle. Anything else or should we get into the rest of the episode?
Let's just get on in there.
Let's get into the calls.
I would be able to give you much more detail if I were ever to have a listener back or anything like that. But the basis is my mother-in-law is a manipulative, narcissistic, alcoholic, just asshole. She got me really close when I got together with my boyfriend, and we have a child, we have a baby. My mother-in-law got me really close. She wanted to know all about my childhood with my father, who is an addict, and my mom, who was very sick with hypothyroidism or Graves' disease. And she wanted to know about the abusive relationship that I was in prior to being with my current boyfriend. She has since used literal phrases that I told her that my ex would say to me when we would argue, when he would gaslight me, when he would try and manipulate me, all of that. She has called me an unfit mother, a terrible mother, terrible person, you know, all this other stuff. She herself was a terrible mother to my boyfriend and his brothers. She was often gone with her 70-year-old boyfriend, leaving the boys with no money in middle school, leaving them all alone. They had CPS called on them multiple times, whatever. She basically just has no place to talk about what a parent is. And I'm a good fucking parent. I'm going to go ahead and say that. So just this past week, she accused me of sending her other son's naked photos. She then said that she has all of these naked photos. And this was a statement made in anger because we became upset with her when she bailed on us for watching our daughter for the umpteenth time this weekend. My boyfriend is supportive in us stopping our relationship with her for the time being, but he was not a mother to her growing up. And he is able to see his mother be a good grandmother to his daughter. And I don't want him to not have that relationship anymore. He was thinking about death the other day and was just like thinking about, you know, well, what if my mom died and we left on these terms and blah, blah, blah. He holds a lot of guilt and is a very emotional person, which I appreciate. So like I said, I do have more details, but I just need help in navigating.
Okay, I cut off.
Yeah, you need to call back. I have so many questions. This is like trivial, but like his mom is saying that she accused you of sending nudes to his brother and she has photos? Like,
show them to me. That's what I would say. Okay, show them to me.
Because that, like, does she act like if she like has gone, and if these are photos that you have like sent to your husband, like, did she go through your phones and then end up getting, like, how, if she has photos, how would she have obtained them? What did the brother say about this? Like, where's the rest of the family?
At his at their like at you, and then wouldn't be talking to the brother, their brother. Like, she's obviously lying. Like,
no, yeah, but I'm wondering where where the rest of the family is on this, because I think like it is a really nuanced and hard situation when you, like, your boyfriend has or I think your partner, your boyfriend, I don't think you said you guys were married.
Yeah.
But like him recognizing that, like, hey, my mom wasn't a good mom. Like, she did a lot of this stuff, but I can see that she's like a great grandmother. And I like would like to take have this be a new chapter in our relationship. And I don't need her to be a mom to me now. I don't need that. Like, there are no expectations in that relationship. I just want her to be a good grandmother. She doesn't exist in a vacuum, and she still has and the only time that those relationships work is when you can take all of somebody, and she's actively harming you and hurting you with saying these things. And I'm not saying it's something that you should be able to brush off at all, but the only time that having relationships with these kinds of people work is when it is all on their terms. And that becomes like, she might be like a great grandmother, but like she's also like bailing on babysitting all the time. Like, that's not responsible for her at all. And she's also saying all of these things that like are really hurtful and like manipulative to you. And if I were your boyfriend, if he's not in therapy, I would get in therapy and like talk to someone and a therapist who specializes or really like has like a good understanding of narcissistic parents, because, and I always recommend the subreddit, like narcissistic parents and like kids raised by narcissists and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the really hard things that there is to like learn there is that the only real solution to that is cutting people off. And it's really hard because no one wants to believe that people can't get better or change or do anything like that. but they can only do that if they want to and they really like seek help and get help for working on all of that stuff. And if they don't, they are just going to hurt everybody in their path. And you either have to be okay with that and accept that, or you set up those boundaries and you don't. Because yeah, I think like the whole like, well, what if we end on these terms here? Who did that? You guys didn't do anything. She did. Like, what are you supposed to do in this situation? Like, what does she want out of this? And if it's like, well, I want to make sure we end on good terms. Well, how much of that can you control? And like, if there is something that you guys can control and you can come to an agreement with each other that it's not harming, to find a way to have a relationship and that relationship doesn't harm either of you and it only benefits, and it's like X, Y, and Z and all of that kind of stuff. There's only so much that you can control, and controlling on whether or not that you have a good relationship with her is 50% her. And if she doesn't want to, and she doesn't like, this is the conditions of how, like the only way that she wants to have a relationship, if it's this tumultuous, then there's literally nothing that you or your boyfriend could do to make it be a good relationship, which sucks. Like it really, really sucks. But I think, yeah, I mean, I would really recommend therapy, because like dealing with like a narcissistic parent it's really hard, especially because you want more for your like grandkid, your child or whatever. But I will also say that there's absolutely like no kid in that situation, regardless of like who they're related to or whatever, is going to benefit from two people or someone being around who hates the other person or having there be any of that tension there. The benefits don't outweigh the cons in that. Like that just like fucks with you psychologically. It's, I think, the same logic of people are like, well, I don't want a divorce because like divorce is really rough for kids. And it's like, well, an unhappy marriage is actually way, way, way fucking worse. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have like personal experience.
Personal experience?
Yeah.
Wow. Do I?
But I do also think like for the caller, for setting up boundaries with what you tell her, because she clearly uses that as a weapon. So don't tell her anything. Yeah, if you want her just to be there as the grandmother, just she's there as grandmother. That's it. That doesn't mean that you have to spill everything that happened about you. Because she probably came from like, she set it up as being like, I'm caring. I'm basically your mother-in-law. I'm here for you. I'm here for you to, talk to or whatever. Yeah. But all she does is use that as ammo, because she's not getting all the attention that she wants.
Yeah. I think also there's like a way to like, I don't know. I also don't want to put anything negative in your head with like, I mean, you have a baby, from what you've said, but like, there's also something to be said about, as a kid being around adults who don't like each other. And whether it's one
Kids
adult
pick up at that on that so easily.
And some, especially narcissists, they'll talk to kids about that. They'll be like, I hate this they're so blah, blah, blah. They like, and that puts a lot of, it creates a lot of issues building interpersonal relationships with that person, because they don't know who to trust. And you also don't trust your own reality, because you have your perception. Then someone's telling you their opinion and what they think and they're telling you what the other person feels and what the other person thinks, and the other person is, and they're telling you what the other person feels and the other person thinks. And maybe it's not both. Like maybe you guys like have like created a really solid boundary, like, or planning to, when like your kid is like, when your baby has grown up a little bit more, that like, you're not going to talk ill of the grandmother at all, but you don't have control if she's not going to do that to like in front of you, or like, I mean, to the kid, once the kid gets older, any of that stuff. So I think if there's a way for like, we see grandma at like family functions, and that's like where the line is kind of drawn, and like, we don't rely on her for childcare because she's not reliable. And she can see like our baby on our terms and what we're comfortable with, in creating those boundaries. And if she's not okay with those boundaries, then it's either cutting that off or being like having a real sit down conversation with your boyfriend and being like, okay, what are we comfortable with? And like, are you okay if she continues for like the rest of our lives, her saying these awful things to me and all of this kind of stuff? Like, are you okay with that? But I would really recommend therapy because it also does sound a little bit like he's trying to recreate the childhood he didn't have and take the animosity and anger he has to his mom and just reframe that as her being a great grandmother and then having all of these expectations of that to kind of override his experience with her as a mother. And then if that doesn't work, that's just actually twice as much disappointment. Like, it's really, if we put expectations on narcissists, we're the only ones getting hurt. So being a narcissistic parent can also translate narcissistic person and grandparent and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I was trying to look up just like some information about dealing with it, and I can't find anything in this short book. But
yeah, I mean, it's the recommended is you can't rationalize with a narcissist, and like being a narcissist, like narcissistic personality disorder or being a malignant narcissist and all of that, like, is a diagnosed thing, and people can go to therapy for that and like really work on it. And it's like a very conscious thing to do, but there are also people who have like no desire to do that, or also then will manipulate their therapist and do all of that. But if someone is like in the trenches of all of that, it's just so draining, especially when it is like an older figure.
Yeah.
So I would like to, I'm very curious about this fucking like picture thing though. Cause like, that's either like a downright lie and like, you did this for what? Like,
that's what and that's the thing. I would call her out on stuff like that. I would just be like, okay, show me the pictures. Show me where your children have sent you these pictures. Like, why would they send them to her? They would talk to their brother. I wonder,
like, is everybody else, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but are they just kind of like enabling, like letting her do and say this kind of stuff and they're okay with it and being like, okay, well, we know that this, like, she's just being her, like, blah, blah, blah. But that's what I'm so curious about, like, what the relationship is like with the other brother and like how he relates to her and all of that kind of stuff. Because yeah, there are so easily people could prove to her that she's lying, but are they also kind of coddling that relationship to not push her away?
Right.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Oh, all right. Next one.
Yep.
Hey, Megan, I'm Melissa. I'm calling in for some roommate advice. I'm going to talk fast because there's a lot of information. So my roommate, let's call her Morgan, is a 21-year-old Capricorn, and I'm a 24-year-old Leo. So we found each other online, so we didn't know each other prior to moving in together. It started off great, but quickly went to shit. My roommate is in her final year of school, so she doesn't have a job. She's home basically all day, every day, since her classes are online. I, on the other hand, graduated a few years ago and work a full-time job. I work 50 to 60 hours a week while she stays home. Morgan first started complaining that I wasn't pulling my weight around the house and that the house was always filthy. It wasn't. It was almost spotless. I was trying to be considerate, and so after working 12 to 14-hour days, I come home, I clean whatever there is to clean, I go to bed. About a month ago, our elementary schools went back to school in person, and she returned to student teach in person. The night before she returned to school, she sat me down and said, look, I can't be the housewife anymore, so you're going to have to start doing some chores. I called her out on this and told her that I have been doing chores, and that just because I'm not home all day to spotlessly clean the entire house every single day doesn't mean I'm not pulling my weight. We put that argument behind us and moved on. Well, now she is saying it's fully my responsibility to make sure the house is spotless. I was talking to my therapist about my roommate, and she thinks my roommate has OCD. As somebody with a psychology degree and somebody working in the psychology field, I know OCD is a very real thing, and I'm not holding that against her. But if she does, in fact, have OCD, she needs to go to therapy and not hold it as somebody else's responsibility to maintain her OCD standards. We don't talk much about the cleaning issue anymore, but now she has began controlling every other aspect of my life. I started ordering HelloFresh due to my crazy work schedule, and she's mad because the bags of HelloFresh meals take up too much space in the fridge. I do keep them on my half of the fridge, but she doesn't like that they look so bulky. She has also mentioned that she doesn't want my boyfriend staying the night just because he doesn't pay rent. I explained to her that he only spends the night 1 to 2 nights a week, and this is the only time we get to see each other because we both work crazy hours. Her bitching has started making me feel anxious and on edge all the time. She recently visited home over spring break, and the night before she came home, I had a full-on panic attack because I was worried the house wasn't to her standards. I know I should sit her down and talk to her about how she's affecting my mental health, but I don't know how to do so. Please help me. How should I confront her and not have a panic attack while doing so? My boyfriend and parents are super concerned about my anxiety being at an all-time high because of her high standards. Love the podcast. Love you. Sorry, this is shaky because I'm nervous. Bye.
This is tough.
This is very tough. The thing is that there's never going to be any pleasing her. Like, no matter how hard you try, it's not going to make her happy.
Yeah. And there's also nothing that, like, you can say to, you know what I mean? Like, I think this is a situation that I would just fully just stand your ground until you can move out. And, like, the one thing I will say that I don't think that I think it's, like, shitty, but I do think that, like,
I think we got the same thing.
The boyfriend staying over.
Yep.
That's, like, that is something where I don't know what state you live in, but if someone stays over for, it doesn't have to be consecutive, but just like for X amount of times during the month, they do have to pay rent. So you don't really have like a leg to stand on that argument. Like, it would suck, but I would concede on that one and just stay at his place. But then for everything else, like with the fridge stuff, as long as things are on your side, you're keeping your stuff like clean and you're like pulling your like weight or whatever, I would just like stand your ground and just be like, I'm doing my part. You can like do your part. Like, there you go. I think if it's a difference between if you're like more of like a tidier and a cleaner and she's more of like a deep cleaner, then I think like incorporate both into those things where it's like, okay, she cleaned the kitchen, she deep cleaned the kitchen last week. I'll do that this week or whatever. Like, if it helps you to like lay out, like sit down with her and be like, okay, let's come up with like what we like what like a cleaning, like a chores or whatever, like a cleaning to-do list or like what that is. And then I will keep up my stuff. And then if we want to rotate back and forth each week between doing these deep cleaning things, like, let's do that. Or just have that on there. So like, because I mean, I don't think that you're just like picking stuff up and not like washing things and like sweeping and doing that stuff, but like just to kind of cover your bases and like make sure that like she's aware that you're also doing those things. And then other than that, if she brings it up again, it would just be like, I'm doing my part. I can't, if you want to clean more, you are more than welcome to clean more. But like, this is from our chore chart and what we're doing. I am keeping up with everything that I am doing. You are more than welcome to do whatever you want. But like, I have just as much rights to my half of the fridge as you do. And if that bothers you, you're more.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
Then welcome to get another fridge in your room and get a mini, like another mini fridge. But I'm not doing anything more or claiming any more territory than you are. Like, this is how the split is. But I don't think that can be, I don't think you can use it as the argument if your boyfriend is staying over a couple times a week.
Right. Yep. That's the only thing that I would say. Everything else, this is just how it is. But with the boyfriend, yeah, that's something that you can't budge on.
You just have to split it. Like, everything needs to be split. And if she wants to do more than her half, she can. But that doesn't mean you do less than your half. Yeah. But that just needs to be. And I think having that conversation about like, if her expectation is, oh, we need to deep clean the house every day. You're like, I'm going to deep clean the house. I will deep clean once a week. If you would like to do more than that, you can, but like, this is what I'm going to do. And that's like a completely reasonable thing. But I would not, I mean, don't bring up OCD to her at all. And I also would say that like, I don't think you necessarily mean that. I mean, I think you're like pissed off as fuck about this girl. I would be annoyed as shit too. But not mentioning something about how like, oh, well, you're home all day, or like, you're just a student. I have a job. And like, now she's student teaching and all of that stuff. Cause like, it's not like, you can't factor in order for this, I think, to survive this until you can get a new lease, it needs to be like completely 50% with no, well, this and this and this, and like making room for like, I don't think you guys are going to be able to like make room for each other's like personal life and what that person's going through and all of that. I think it really needs to be super black and white. So regardless of the fact that she's home all day and you're not in any of that, like it's just split 50-50. But that's rough. But it does sound like you've been there for a while. So your lease is hopefully up pretty soon. Yeah. And then spend as much time, like spend nights at your boyfriend, like spend time there.
If you can.
Yeah. But I mean, if he's spending time.
But he might be in a different type of situation where he can't have anyone over too.
Yeah, that's true. I would also just get a copy of your lease just to have on hand so you can know when you can like first give notice to moving out. So you're staying on top of everything for like the most timely, like, oh, giving 3 weeks notice or giving 2 weeks notice, like whatever that is. Because depending if you're like in a big apartment complex, you can also sometimes like give your, say that people can do showings of like your place and like, or virtual stuff and things like that. And then sometimes that can also mean you can get out of a lease early if someone wants that exact unit. So.
But she'd have to be on the same page with the roommate though.
Yeah. Yeah. And the roommate probably wouldn't want people.
Yeah. She's not going to want people.
Yeah. Just get a copy of your lease so you're on top of like all of the timelines for ending that said lease eventually when you can. We are going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back. And we are back. Let's get into the rest of the calls.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. Love the podcast. So I also have an interesting situation I want some advice on. So, for background, I'm 21 years old. I'm in university, but I've been home for the past year. And I live with my mom and my younger sister. My dad actually passed away when I was 5, but my mom remarried about 2 years ago, and she was with this guy for about 5 years prior to that. But the past couple of years after they got married, they've had a lot of problems. A lot of it surrounding my younger sister, who has a lot of health problems. And so there's just been some strain in their relationship, and also for other reasons. But essentially in November, my mom asked him to move out, and they had gotten in a really big fight. He had said a lot of really mean things about my younger sister, and my mom had made that clear to us, and we just kind of had not seen him since. And then last week on Monday, they ended up getting divorced, and they were going to finalize their divorce on Monday. And then also along with that, my mom has been seeing a guy she met through her work for the past couple of weeks. And he seems to make her really happy. I've only met him a few times, but he's really nice. And has made her laugh, and, doesn't seem to be adding a lot of stress to her life. And, background, me and my sister have never had a super close relationship with our stepdad, but we had kind of like a cordial relationship up until like the past couple months before he moved out. Well, on Easter, the guy my mom has been seeing, he stopped over and brought her some Easter presents. It was really nice. And then he left. But then later that night, we were having Easter dinner, and my ex-stepdad showed up. And my mom didn't warn me and my sister at all. He didn't really address it. They just kind of were acting like nothing was going on. And so I thought maybe my mom cut it off with the other guy she's been seeing. But I've seen, and they've still been talking on the phone, talking a lot. So I'm a little confused. My mom hasn't really said anything. And my sister's really upset because my mom told her that our ex-stepdad said a lot of really terrible things about her. So I'm not really sure what to do in this situation. I'm not sure if my mom owes us any explanation because we are both adults now. My sister is also over the age 18. So any advice on how to navigate this situation would be great. Thanks so much.
Broad picture, parents don't always necessarily owe their kids an explanation about everything. But I also think that not every person owes anyone an explanation about everything. And I hate when parents use like, oh, well, you're an adult, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, if I'm an adult and you're an adult, like, then what? Let's have some open communication about this. But the issue is when she started this by letting you all know the terrible things that he has said about your sister, then yeah, she owes you a fucking explanation. Like, I would be so pissed if I was your sister in that situation. And at least, like, I don't know, I'm like, fucking at least hide it. Like, are you kidding? Like,
yeah, for this, yes, she does owe you an explanation. If he hadn't said like terrible stuff about your sister, then it would be like, let her run her,
her bench.
Main dude, side dude. I don't know who's who in this new situation, this new light. So, like, are they officially divorced though?
Yeah, she said they're finalizing the divorce on Monday.
Okay. But, like, did they?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, like, what kind of divorce was this? Like, was this, like, did they have a mediator or were there lawyers involved? Like, did they just sign the papers again with, like, a mediator? Like, was it, like, an amicable, super easy split like that? Or did, like, you have to go, like, were they going to court for assets or anything? Like, because that's a good way to tell if they did sign it. And like, those are appointments. Like, you can't miss, like, if you miss them, you have to reschedule them.
Right.
It's not like in the movies where you just have the divorce papers and you're like, okay.
It might be like a stalling technique though. Like,
oh, what does she want? What does he want? Yeah, who owns the house? I mean, that's really what usually people do that for. So who owns the house? Is it in an area that like constantly gets reappraised and will cost more? Like, is there a did they not? I just think that, like, I also think regardless, like, if this was an amicable divorce, it's pretty fucked up to consider it amicable after he said hurtful things about your sister who is ill. And then your mom was hurt enough by it or wanted to hurt, like, I don't know what, to then tell you both and then not
probably give them a reason for why they were getting divorced.
Yeah, but then you got to follow through on that. Yeah, so she owes both of you she really owes your sister an explanation. But I think if I were you're only 21 and she's younger than you, so she's over 18. So like she's what, 19, 20, maybe just turned 18. I think you have a sit down conversation with her, and it's not like, what are your intentions with these men? But I think it's like, hey, I
would just focus on the stepdad.
Yeah. And like, you told us he said these things. That's incredibly hurtful. We're still holding on to that hurt. And it's really offensive that like, it's seemingly you are completely fine and okay with it. And he's like now suddenly back here in like our lives, showing up on Easter and shit. And
like, it's no big deal. You didn't even give us a warning because she knew if she said something to you guys, then you would ask questions.
Yeah. And then it's like, yeah, explain. Just fucking explain yourself. Like, what is this? And I think also I would actually, you know what I would do before that? I would talk to your sister and see if she wants you to have a conversation with your mom first before she's there. And so you can kind of suss that out.
Actually, I wouldn't even involve the sister.
Unless she wants to be.
Yeah, unless she wants to be. But I think this is a conversation that you have questions about. So you should be the one asking it.
Yeah. Let's hop into our next call.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. Jumping right into it, I am 25, a Sagittarius sun, she, her pronouns. My issue is with a longtime best friend. We've actually been friends since third grade. We're still really close, but I can feel our paths starting to divide and go different ways. Things like she wants kids. I do not. She values marriage a lot. I think it's cool, but whatever. She tends to be pretty judgmental of people straight out the gate. I try to give everybody a chance. Most notably, my issues are where our political beliefs differ. Generally, we agree on the same ideas, but we disagree on how we think they should get done. So same goal, just different paths to get there. we've talked about this stuff once before and just decided that we disagree on it. And we're both fine with that because, like I said, we agree on the goals. So it's not a huge deal. But the problem lies in that she keeps bringing that stuff up, seemingly prompting me to agree with her when she knows that I don't. Usually I'll just ignore it, not respond, or change the subject because she is a textbook Pisces, and I know from experience that confrontation could cause her to absolutely flip out. She's even gone as far as to make fun of someone who just so happens to share the same ideas as me. Make fun of them for their ideas, by the way. And quarantine has not made it better since she's living with people who really disagree with her, and it seems to have made her dig her heels in with the belief that she's right and doesn't care what anyone else says, not to mention the toll that all of that has had on her mental health. I try to drop hints or gently nudge her to remind her of where I stand, but it doesn't really seem to help at all. So do you ladies have any advice on how I should handle this emotionally taxing, somewhat fading friendship, which I don't necessarily want to fade, that has more than a decade of history, or just advice on starting a conversation with a volatile and hurting Pisces? Thank you so much. Bye.
I mean, I think if you describe your friend as volatile, it's
probably not something that somebody you should have in your life. I mean, there's somebody in my life that big picture, we do agree on things. But then when it comes to exactly what you were saying, the execution, we strongly disagree. For me, I bring up facts. But I don't know what side you're on, so I don't know if it's going to help you or not. But for me, I bring up facts that counter because this person in my life reads a lot of headlines and doesn't read the articles. And
I know who you're talking about, right?
I'm pretty sure you do.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they read headlines and not the articles. And so I will go into the details about what actually things are, how there's a process for everything, how you can't just hot and just like create a solution. And there's a process to doing things. And so that's how I break it down for her. In all honesty, I would have ghosted her a long time ago, but there's just things that are tying us together, so I can't. So I think it's just like, do you want to? You clearly want to continue this friendship relationship, but if she's being volatile to your mental health, then it might be time to cut the cord.
Yeah, I think like this is like a common theme that we get where it's like, well, I want to set these, like, I want to keep this friendship. I want to set these boundaries or whatever. But like you can set the boundaries. You can't ensure that she's going to uphold them and respect them. So I think like, sure, in theory, you want to remain friends with her, but it's under the condition that she doesn't talk about this stuff anymore. And you guys can agree to disagree on that kind of stuff and move forward. But it doesn't sound like she's okay with that. And so I think if you need to have another conversation with her where it's not a response to something that she said, but it's starting a new conversation and be like, hey, so we've had this talk before and it keeps happening and you do keep bringing this kind of stuff up and it's getting increasingly frustrating for me. And I'm really drawing a hard boundary with like, I don't want to talk about this with you anymore. And if you continue to bring this up, like I love you, but I'm not going to be able to move forward this friendship. Because like, if you can respect that and like let her like live her life and have her own belief system as much as possible, like as much as you can. But like, if she doesn't do the same for you, then what you're doing is fruitless. Like, it's not, what's the fucking point then? Because like, she's just not going to respect that at all. But I am curious what side you are on of it. But I'm glad you gave, I'm glad you gave that example because I was going to be like curious. I'm like, I wonder like what it is that would be kept like being brought up. But that does make, no, yeah, I can think of a clearer picture now.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I think like if you're on Melissa and I side of this, like, then I think if you want to approach it with facts and then be like, okay, I'm done. And like, here's how you can understand like this process more and all of that. But if you're on the other side of it, then and she's offering you facts and that and stuff, like I would look into those things and then see where you lie on that. And like, maybe it is, I don't know if you've done it before, but maybe it is like hearing her out and hearing what she's saying. And if she's the one who's bringing those facts and receipts and how legislature works, how all of those things work, then reading that to have a deeper understanding of that. But if then you're the one with that, then I think do that same for her. And then from there, if after one final conversation about it, if she can't respect your boundaries, then I think you just need to be done. But again, I think someone you call
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone. So we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural then and now.
Also, like,
that's probably not the only. I mean, you listed off things that you have differences in, and with the things that you listed, those seem like they're things that you can work through in the friendship. You know, just like opposite things. Just because one person wants to get married and the other one doesn't, that doesn't mean you can't be friends. But if it comes down to like your core beliefs, which you guys do have the big picture, same ideas of it, but she's being volatile. I don't think the what's the word? Volatileness? I don't know what the
volatility.
word. Volatility? Sure.
I don't know.
I don't think that would be the only section of your life that she's being that way in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have to coddle her either. Like if she's being like, if she's lashing out and being a bit like, I'm so anti the whole like, well, I don't want to, and this is also just me because I'm confrontational, but like if someone else is not confrontational, but like we need to have a confrontation, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you know, they really don't really, this really blah, blah. Like if it needs to get done, it needs to get fucking done. Like, if it's not going to be productive because that person is going to shut down, then I'll do it in a way that's like over text message, over something that like gives that, like, I'm not going to like in person, just be like, oh, but it has to get done at some point. And coddling someone's like feelings about that, like you still have to do the thing, just do it in a way that you think will be the most comfortable to them. Not just, oh, I can't do this at all because they're not going to respond well. Then it's like, okay, well, if they're not going to respond well to criticism or like having a conversation about boundaries, then like, they're not going to respect your boundaries, and then you shouldn't be friends with this person anymore. Now it's time for Don't Blame Them. This is where a listener will call in with their own advice to follow up on a previous call that we gave advice on. So maybe they have their own personal insight, they've been through something similar, or they just had some thoughts that we didn't cover. Or they're just going to tell us, you gave perfect advice, you're amazing, and you're wonderful, and you're so pretty. Which, thank you.
So this is from season 7, episode 20, about the girl who fell in love with her best friend.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I'm calling for I Don't Blame Them for season 7, episode 20, about the girl who fell in love with her best friend. They were dating. She said she loved him, and then he broke up with her the next day. I have been in that situation before. I had known my friend for about 2 or 3 years. We decided to take the plunge and start dating. We dated for a few months, and I wrote him a card that basically said, looking forward to, the next year together. I hope it's great. Looking forward to it. And he broke up with me a few weeks later, saying that he didn't have as deep of feelings as I did for him romantically. And it totally crushed me because when he broke up with me, I realized that, I was in love with him. It did hurt the friendship for a while, but we had a really long conversation
that we did want to stay friends. And we knew that staying friends meant that we really did need time and space away from each other. And I basically had to tell him, I need you not to speak to me until I'm ready. So that's what we did. And it's hard and it's a lot of work, but we have gotten back to being really, really close friends. And, you know, I've known him for 5 years now, and we could talk about anything, hang out, talk about our relationship, but you really need to give yourself time and space to heal, and to find someone who's going to love you back the way that you love them. Because otherwise you are just sinking your heart into a situation that's not going to change, and you can't wait around hoping for it to change. That's not really how it works. You're not special. You're not the exception to the rule. You're more than likely the rule. And that's what I had to tell myself in that situation. And time really does heal all wounds. And then eventually you will meet someone who is going to love you back. So please don't lose hope and love. And maybe one day you can be friends with him again, but not right now. That's just not how it works. So I hope you're doing okay. Megan and Melissa, I love you guys. You're amazing. You have kept me company during some very long COVID jogs. So, yep, have a good day. Bye.
I'm sorry, you're taking long jogs during COVID. You are doing better. You're doing this better than I am.
Way better than me.
Yeah.
I when I'm working out, I'm reminded that like my workouts are just like how much I would have normally been moving in a day anyway. So it's really not even doing anything.
Oh my God. You're so right. I will say the only benefit of ADHD, sometimes I will hyper focus on something that I like have no need to do. I'll sit and do a puzzle for 5 hours without moving. But more times than not, I do get a good amount of steps in the day because I just wander around the house trying to remember what I was trying to do. But I think that was great. I think that was really good, tough love advice from someone who's been there in like recent times.
Yeah. And it's like essentially what we were saying, but she has actual experience with it.
Yeah. And you can be a little bit harsher in that of like, I also love the tie to my book title, but yeah, about the whole like, okay, I'm not special, I'm not the exception to the rule, like that kind of stuff. Like it's hard to hear. But at the same time, I think that stuff is also kind of comforting that it's like, oh, I'm not the only person going like, what the fuck am I? Like, I'm sure I'm allowed to be sad, but like, I also should realize that like, this is so common, like so common. Like everyone else has already done this too, and they're okay. So I'll be okay. So I think that's some great advice. Now I feel like I have to work out or something. That's it for our episode. If you would like to call in and be a part of an upcoming one, leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And international listeners, you can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. Again, we ask that you let us know your pronouns. You keep it under 3 minutes or you'll get cut off. You write down practice and your H&R over. Have your parents' permission. If you want to check out the video version, we have it on Patreon for $1 a month. And then you can also sign up for our Patreon for exclusive live streams. We live stream twice a month, only $5. Super easy. More Megan and Melissa. It's a good time. Also follow our Instagram by Megan and Melissa. Some fun stuff coming soon. And our own socials, buy my book. What would you like to promote?
Just follow me on Instagram, please.
Your personal and your business?
Yeah. But like if you're going to follow one, do my personal.
So you can get to 10K so you can use some swipe ups.
Yeah. I'm almost at 5.
Hell yeah. Maybe we'll
I'll try. Maybe if I actually tried and like posted things. Then
yeah, just I will say the advice I will give you is don't post about little Nas because
I could care less.
Some stragglers.
They'll
that's
right
what
away.
sent them. Well, that's what sent them over the edge because like they like hate. A lot of people hate followed me, but then I think they were like, oh no, she's associating herself with Satan. So then I think they thought, oh, I can't follow her because now I have ties to Satan.
The demon will jump into me.
Yeah, through the phone.
The
demon's in the music video. Megan watched the music video. Megan tweeted about the music video.
She has
now
a
the
demon in her, and now it's going to jump to me if I
Yeah.
keep watching. Yep.
Exactly. So, ooh, spooky.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I reposted from one of the shows that the Queer Tea show that I executive produced. I reposted for that episode, and it was about him, and he was in the picture. So They already know.
That was like, I was dying when like people were like telling Cammie that they were unfollowing her for posting this shit. And she's like, where have you been? Like, what? That's the same thing how I feel.
I said to you. I was like, it's not like you haven't posted like about this stuff in the last few months, like even a month before.
Mm-hmm. That's like, I'm like, you can't be shocked. One of the things that people tell me, they're like, oh my God, it's so like, I never really had to worry about you because you've like, since you were 16, talked about like your political views and that kind of stuff. They're like, it was nice to not like, I always kind of knew. It was like, there was no shock and surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know how some people are shocked and surprised, but you know, that's them. Is there anything else?
Nah. No, we didn't talk about your dick pic saga.
Oh my God. Should we talk about it?
Why not? If you want to leave, then leave. But
then you can leave.
Yeah.
Okay. This is wild. So on like a couple days, no, it was the night before I got the vaccine, the same day as the Taylor Swift re-release, which like is so offensive that someone would send an unsolicited dick pic in general, but especially on such a special day for me. It was just like so rude. I get a text and it said, I would look on my computer to read it to you exactly, but it was from an Android, so I can't. But it was.
How rude. Green text.
I know. The audacity. And it said something along the lines of, it's all in a vlog too. But by the time this is out, the vlog will definitely be up. So watch it for my real-time responses. But it was something along the lines of, I'm so excited to finally meet you tomorrow. I hope you had a good day. Here's something that will hopefully make it even better. And immediately when I saw that, it's like a number that I don't recognize. And like, it's just a lot of words. And so my first instinct was like, is this one of those Joe Biden text messages where they're like asking for $5? Because you know, they're really long. Like
yes,
it starts like, hey, hello. Like it doesn't just, it's not like text 5. It's not like a change petition or something.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty formal. And then I kept reading it and I was like, no. And then I get to the end and I was like, uh-oh. I feel like I know what's coming. And then it just vibrates and I'm already on the preview and I just see a veiny shaft and I'm like, ooh,
it wasn't even that veiny.
But no, so it crops. So it just crops. So I see like, I see veiny flesh.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is not a forearm. Like, I know what arm this is. This is the one between your legs. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, what the fuck? Look up the number. Don't have the number. And I was like, do I respond? Do I not? And I'm sure people listening understand this, that like, there is an element of like, I'm someone like I clap back so fucking much. Like I'm so like, I will drag you. I will bully you. Like, fuck off.
If
I'm
this
not
is
afraid.
new news to you, then again, where have you been?
Where have you been? But there is a difference of like doing that than a man that I don't know, and a man in general. Like I am going to act very differently because I'm like, now I'm worried for my like say, like I have to say, I want to say something that gets my point across, but also like you are someone who is like not caring about consent or anyone else's comfortability. So like you also have a lot of red flag. There's a lot of other red flags there that lead to like someone that you could be a volatile man. Like you can be like really vengeful. I don't want you to like show up where I live and like murder me. So Mats was gone and I was just like waiting for him to get home. I show him, he was like, don't respond. And I was like, well, I'm gonna respond. But I just was responding with gifts. So I then responded with a Jack Nicholson gift that said, wrong number, wrong person, wrong. And he was like, this isn't Sarah, with like 3 question marks. And I just sent back, which Real Housewife is it? Do you remember which one it was? It's a blonde
I don't even
one.
remember. That doesn't say anything.
Yeah,
I think it was
one.
Shannon Bedore, I believe, is who you sent.
And it just says like, no. And
yes,
then he
that would
responded.
Be Shannon. Yes.
Yeah. Then he responded saying, fuck. So my follow-up was like, this is all in my highlights too, if you want to read it verbatim. But my highlights were, I said, here, I can actually just even pull it up. But I said something back where
I have what you said.
Okay. What did I say?
You said, moral of the story, don't send unsolicited dick pics. You haven't even met this girl and you're sending her that. And because Sarah gave you the wrong number, now I have to be subjected to that picture.
And he said, did he respond to that?
He said, "You're right. I'm sorry. Right. I feel like a complete idiot."
Okay. So then here's where I'm like, wow, this is the best it could have ever gone. Like, do I believe this man? No. I think like when you send that picture, you do not have like that full character arc immediately being like, you're right, blah, blah, blah. Cause like, again, he's never met this girl. Like it says in his first text message that he has not met her in person. And
I responded to you with, at least he wasn't a dick about it.
Yeah, it was a good one. It made me laugh. So I'm like already feeling like I'm annoyed as fuck because he's just now pandering to me to be like, oh, you're right. I'm like, okay, fuck off. Like no. And the amount of people who are like, well, blah, blah, he was really nice. Maybe like, and just the amount of like dick pic apologists from women who are like, I was like, please have higher standards for the men in your life. Like, good God, like this is not it. But then a couple people had tweeted me when I had tweeted about this and they were like, oh my God, something similar happened to Grace. And I was like, oh, that's funny. I should ask her about it. But like, I didn't really follow through with that. And then someone else in my DMs had said something along the lines of it. And again, I was just kind of like in the back of my mind, I should ask Grace. But then someone sent just a link to the video with a timestamp and said, oh my God, watch this. Grace talked about it on the podcast. And I was like, okay. So I start watching. It's on one. I think it's literally called Grace Got a Dick Pic, and it's
and this might get weird with Mamrie,
with Mamrie Hart, and she like it's a great soundbite of Mamrie opening it for the first time, but then they start describing the dick, and they're talking about how it's like a weirdly framed photo, and it's really close up, and I was like, my senses are tingling. Like this kind of sounds like it, and then Mamrie goes, is that what an uncircumcised penis looks like? And I was like, we're talking about the same dick. Like this sounds just like it. But then Grace said that the area code was from Los Angeles. And I was like, okay, no, maybe not. But I texted her or I don't remember if I DM'd her or texted her. But I asked her, I was like, hey, I heard you got a dick pic. I watched the clip. I'm wondering if it's like the same, because the way that like the preamble to it too was like, had such a great time with you last night. Like it was similar, just cadence and just writing. She sends me the fucking screenshot. This was like immediately after I got the vaccine. So I already have like my microchip running through me, 5G. Like I'm just like living my best life. Like my service is peak. And she sends it to me. That's sarcasm, everybody. Get a vaccine. She sends me a screenshot and it's the same dick.
Exact same picture.
Same fucking
just
picture.
Just copy paste.
And I am losing it. Like what the fuck? What the actual fuck? And so then some people have said online that like people get off being like digital flashers and that like there's no way that this is like there's like really no way that this is a coincidence that great because like not only do Grace and I work in the same industry, like we also know each other. Like we're friends, we know each other. Like this is like it's super fucking weird. Like it's so fucking weird. And neither of us were able to reverse search the phone numbers. You looked them up and they're apparently like they're brand new numbers.
So Grace's has been a while around for a while. Well, by a while, I mean since like the earliest notification for it was March 11th for hers. And they're all
her dick pic was a while ago.
Yeah, and they're all everyone that has reported this number, it says dick pic next to it. Like you can report like if something is safe or not safe, and this number is considered not safe, and they're all marked for dick pic. And then I searched the one that Megan had, and that number has no record to it at all. So I think that they get new numbers. They probably use Google or some other service where they can just get a new number and just send it out.
I like have so many questions.
Yeah. But like, why?
That's what I don't. Some people were saying
and
that they're like
stories are different. Like the stories that he gave, both of you they're different. It's the same cadence, but they're completely different stories.
But that's the whole thing that like you can just. But like that's the only way I could tell was just like how they were written. But like they're not the same. It's like I'm excited to see you. Oh, I saw you last night. Like it's just and also like of all of the dick pics that you're gonna use, it's that. Like what? I just think
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all, I'm JJ.
Hey, guys, it's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
It's absolutely fucking wild. And I want to figure out who it is. But yeah, so I guess what online people are saying that some people get off as like digital flashers. But at the same time, like the fact that it's both Grace and I, it's like either someone who knows us both personally, or it's someone who knows us both in a public sense. Mm-hmm. But that's like, it's not random.
Yeah.
Like it's targeted to both of us or whatever. But a couple people had messaged me and saying that they had gotten like random dick pics, and then I was like, can I see the dick? And it wasn't the same dick. So I'm like, that's the part that's so weird. Like if it was like, oh my God, it's like 50 other people are sending me like, and it's all the same, I'm like, okay, number breach from a website, like something like that. But the fact
it's
that like
too much of a coincidence.
Yeah. What a wild time. And Mats was like, you know, being innocent, he was like, afterwards, he was like, oh, dude, that dude must be losing his shit, sending the dick to the wrong girl. And I was like, babe, he didn't even like test the number to be like, hey, like, it's like a brand new conversation. There's no text history there. There's like none of that. And then once it came out that it was like this, Mats was like, this makes more sense. Yeah. He was like, yeah. Because he was like, I just don't know how you messed that up that bad.
Because like, it was on purpose.
It's on purpose. That's how. Just don't send, like, unless someone asks for one. Also, someone was telling me that there's like a catfish ploy. And I was like, I'm sorry, who does that work on?
Have you watched Catfish, Megan?
No, but I can't imagine like you sending me an unsolicited, I like get unsolicited titty pic. Like I get that, like, but I'm sorry, you're sending me a picture of your penis and you're expecting that I'm going to be like, tell me more.
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, if I get one, I will play along and see how far I can take it.
That's a good call. I know I do really kind of want to call the number like *67, but I think it'll just be disconnected now.
Yeah, I think they just use it for a month or so and then get another number. Because that one with Grace's, it had like stuff from March till April. So like it was still being used.
Wow. That seems like a lot of work.
Well, if you don't have shit else to do, or if it's your thing that you get off on, then...
I will say, though, as much as it sucks, I would much rather get flashed in a text message than in person.
Oh, 100%.
Without a doubt. Like, I don't think you should do either at all. But, like, I guess the perk of the pandemic is that, like, less... I haven't seen, like, actually, no, we did. That day as we were driving back, that's so funny. That day, Mats and I were driving back from getting our vaccine.
Your injection.
After all of that happened, we saw a naked person cross the street in Hollywood.
I've seen so many naked people crossing streets in Hollywood. It's not even.
It was the same intersection where I've also seen someone walking a tiger on a leash. And once where I saw, which was probably one of the greatest interactions I had ever seen. And I like wish I could have filmed it because like my hatred of LAPD runs so deep, but I love when people are able to fuck with them. And an unsheltered man had found a horse somewhere and gotten a horse. It was not an LAPD horse. And he was just sitting on the side of the like in like one of the camps right there, right off of the freeway, just sitting on his horse, regal, fucking Game of Thrones shit. And then the police pulled over. We're just like, what? And he was like, what? This is amazing. He was just like, what? And they were like, and he was like, can I help you? And I just loved it. Like, I loved it so much. I was like, this is fantastic. This is the greatest thing ever. And like, the horse was happy. The horse was just living their life. Like, and I drove on by, but I was just like, yes, please occupy LAPD with this. So they like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
It was wild. But yeah, the lion one was like, the tiger one was crazy too.
How did they get so far? Just walking it down the street.
I question, because it's the fucking the tiger or the horse.
The horse, whatever.
The tiger, I do not understand, because it's literally that, like, so I forget what fucking street is it called? Is it? So it's right before. I am so bad with like street names and everything. So it's like
what's
there's
around it.
There's like a grocery store on the left, but it's like right as you're about to kind of get to the freeway, if you were going to like if you were going to like Burbank, or you're going to like any of the studios,
I know exactly
like Disney.
what you're talking about. There's like a IHOP or a Denny's or something that's next to the grocery store. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you know, and you get off the freeway down that side, there's like 2 ramps. You're going to exit for Ivy. I think it's so right there. So,
and that's also like the entrance for the shopping center, like the mall-ish type thing. That's it's on the left. If you're going to the freeway, it's on the left-hand side. It's not the entrance, it's where the parking is.
Oh, I don't know.
Like that
maybe
bowling alley's right there. And we're talking about the same place.
Are we?
No?
Okay. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm
pretty sure we are.
I can ask Mods too. I can also be incredibly misleading. But so the street, it's like right as you're about to get into Hollywood, where the tiger was. That one was baffling to me, because like it's not necessarily there's not really a lot of stages there. Like Hollywood has this idea of being like, oh, Hollywood, that's where movies are made. I'm like, actually,
really not.
No.
Yeah.
There's nothing really in Hollywood except like high-rise apartment complexes where like Logan Paul used to live. Like that's like there's not a lot there. It's more of like the touristy stuff. There's not really any production stuff in Hollywood. So I was kind of like, where are you going? Because I'm assuming it's for a shoot or something, but they don't have like, it's not like on it might have been on a leash, but like they didn't have like any like big cages, or they didn't have like, you know, when it's like a crew and it's like massive amount of people or wranglers and all of that. Like it was just like 4 people, and it was like really casual. So I was like convinced they were shooting it for some like Facebook fucking video or someone's like stupid like TikTok or like some of that shit. It might have been in the era of Vine when I saw it, but I just remember being like,
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it was right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Hollywood is so weird. So
That's
like it was the same cross section. Yeah. Nate.
I've seen at least 3 dicks just walking down the street right there on Highland.
But you know what the best part is? They always have the best billboards and always have the latest like wraps on it, like what TV shows are coming out with all the posters. I always find out what's coming out because they do so many. So I'm like, okay, it's a good time. And they don't have any of the billboards that like people buy.
Yeah,
I hate those ones. I hate it.
Huh. Oh well,
what a story. I hope you get it.
Someone else that's not connected to us also received it,
but has to be somewhat a little connected to Grace to know.
No, she doesn't know them either. Someone just told her that they got it. So
did she follow up? And is it the same picture?
Same picture. I think that's what she said. She either was going to or she was going to follow up, but the way it's described, it's the same picture.
What?
Yeah.
But the person's also in a similar.
Yes.
It's not like a completely dissimilar space.
But it's not anyone that she personally knows.
No. But it could be someone that knows all 3 of us.
Yeah.
I've only ever received 3 dick pics in my entire life. And 2 have been to my business email address.
One of them was the beautiful one with the
gingham shirt. With the unbuttoned bottom of the shirt, just sprawled, just with a tent, a perfect little framing for the penis. Yeah, I've never received any other unsolicited dick pics. Unless I'm blocking it out,
which is entirely possible.
It is true. It's like someone asked me once if I've ever smoked like a cigarette, and I was like, no, not sober, but if I did it drunk, like I would have. I don't remember, but like
me and my friend from college, we both received the same dick pic from a dude that was trying to talk to both of us. But we were like best friends, so there's no way that he would have thought that neither one of us would have. Like we were inseparable, and we would call him Long Banes because his hair on his dick looked like you could just swoop it over as a bang. So that was our code name for him whenever we were in college.
Did he have straight pubes?
Yes. We were like, did he straighten this? Like, how did this happen? Long bangs.
I in my life have never seen straight pubes.
I know. And that's why it was very memorable.
I have a full haircut I'm picturing.
Yeah. We're just
it's
like,
a blonde
he just
Justin
swoops
Bieber
it
look.
over. Just swoops it over. It was in the young Bieber phase of that point of his life when he was like just coming out.
The dickhead side bangs. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Wow. I wish you still had it.
It was so long ago. That was like when I had an Android and like the iPhone 1 was out. That's how long ago it was.
Wow. I don't know when that was. It seems long ago though. I don't know. Wow. Okay, that's it for our episode now.
Mm-hmm.
If you listened, we hope you enjoyed. And if you did enjoy, I think you'll enjoy something that potentially will be coming out pretty soon.
Yeah.
We will see you all next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Don't Blame Me is a production by me, executive produced by Melissa DeMonts, edited by Katrina Henning, and music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso.
Welcome to the small town of Chinook, where faith runs deep and secrets run deeper. In this new thriller, religion and crime collide when a gruesome murder rocks the isolated Montana community. Everyone is quick to point their fingers at a drug-addicted teenager, but local deputy Ruth Vogel isn't convinced. She suspects connections to a powerful religious group. Enter federal agent V.B. Lauro, who has been investigating a local church for possible criminal activity. The pair form an unlikely partnership to catch the killer, unearthing secrets that leave Ruth torn between her duty to the law, her religious convictions, and her very own family. But something more sinister than murder is afoot, and someone is watching Ruth.
Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a co-founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. During her journey, Isla meets new friends, including King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, and learns valuable life lessons with every quest, sword fight, and dragon ride. Positive and uplifting stories remind us all about the importance of kindness, friendship, honesty, and positivity. Join me and an all-star cast of actors, including Liam Neeson, Emily Blunt, Kristen Bell, Chris Hemsworth, among many others, in welcoming the Search for the Silver Lining podcast to the Go Kid Go network by listening today. Look for the Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.